We're going to be going over 3 different methods on how to make maps in Geoguessr, whether you just want to make a quick one for fun or create them to help you get better at the game, because the default map maker isn't exactly the best. Now this is what I recommend for most people to use. This is Rihanna's map maker, and it has a similar interface to the regular Geoguessr map maker, but with at least 100 more features. And as you can see, I have used this quite a bit in the past to make videos. To give a brief description of it, this allows you to choose locations way more easily compared to the regular map maker. Say for example, I click on here, you can actually change the date, you can save direction level, you can save zoom level, along with a bunch of other customizable things over here. And probably the best feature about this is the whole tag system, which I'll quickly show how it works. So say for example, I'm trying to learn poles of, I don't know, Australia for example. I see one, I guess the location, then what I can do, I can click on the Google Maps link. Oh, and also by the way, another quick tip, instead of having the super long map links, you can just click on here. Well, in English it would be share location or something, and then copy the link. Right, and then you place it into the search bar and it pops up. And I can very easily mark it with the Victoria tag and click save, and that is done. I believe you can also add infinite tags if I remember correctly, and of course you can just click on the tag to see, like if you only want to see those ones. The last step is to actually import it into the main game, and to do that it's very simple. You just pick out a map name and go with handpick locations. This is only possible using a Tamper Monkey script. If you don't know how that works, I have made a map making tutorial here, but basically you just install Tamper Monkey, then you go onto the Plunkett website, go into the scripts and tools section, and find copy and paste Geoguessr map data. So you view script and then you install. And if you've done everything correctly, as soon as you turn the script on, press the refresh button, and then you should get this interface. So to export the map, you click on the export here at the bottom. I recommend, well, the site recommends to use JSON. You can either download it as a new file or just copy it. I think I'll just copy it, then go back to Geoguessr, go into the find locations box, and then you paste and add locations and save map. And there we go, and now all of the locations are imported. And this is something I've seen a few people say, to actually save the map you have to save and publish it for some reason, and then you click on unpublish it if you want, and then from there you can edit it again. Now to actually find the map maker, you go into the same section on the Plunkett site, go to the map making part, and you'll see it right here. But now we're going to take a look at the map generator website. Now the use case of this is a little bit different from the map maker, because here you actually generate locations instead of having to hand pick everything. I think a fairly common way to use this is if you want to practice 50-50s between 2 different countries. Like say for example, I want to practice if a location is in Canada or the US, I just simply click on these 2. You can click any country if you want. And just for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to show what I would do. I would choose maybe. Also keep in mind, the more locations you have, the harder it is for everything to process. So just for this example, I'm just going to go with 1,000 locations in Canada and 1,000 locations in the US. And to the right here, we have all the actual settings. Maybe you can see for yourself, there are plenty of customizable things like intersections, very good for practicing, curve locations. And this setting right here is quite important. The radius 500 meters, that means if there's a location, there can't be another location within 500 meters. And depending on how many locations you have, it may be a good idea to increase it. Since I only have 1,000 locations per country, I'll probably put something like 5 kilometers. And then from there, after you've selected what you want, and this, again, this is a very basic rundown of how things like this work, then you click on start. Okay, luckily this isn't taking too long. Sometimes it can take a while. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that sometimes parts of countries like are separate. Like for example, I didn't click Alaska. I know Indonesia is also an example, but in this case, it shouldn't be too important. Right, and now we're done. Just like in the map maker, you can export it as a JSON file. You can't see it right now, but your file explorer should pop up, and then you just click save. Of course, you can do what we did before and just directly put that into Geoguessr. What we can also do is import it to the map maker just by clicking on import file. Again, your file explorer should pop up, and then just click on the file you made earlier, and we have all of the locations. Now this is really good if you're just here to maybe just practice without having to be in the game, or you want to create a certain map by generating a bunch of locations, then tagging them appropriately, then only keeping the same ones. Because another thing you can do on the map maker is only export certain tags. And once you have everything generated, you can do whatever you want with them. You can delete them, you can tag them by going here, and then remember to click on the plus for it to actually work. To actually see all of the tags, you have to click on either cancel or save. Then you can just click on it and they'll all appear. And there we go. Now you can play a map where you have to figure out if you're in the US or Canada. And for those who watched like a year ago, whatever, this is exactly how I made the Luxembourg or Germany map. And the other one, the other map maker you may have noticed is Vali. And I don't think I've used this one enough to give a proper tutorial on how to use it. But just so we all know what it does, it's basically like the map generator which we just used, but with way more precision, and you can do a lot more stuff with this. I'm not really too much of a tech tutorial guide yet, so if you want to do this, you're gonna have to read all of this, but it really is not that difficult. But please remember to get the right SDK, because that is something I always see people mess up with other things. Of course, huge shout out to /P for making this and ReAnna for making the map maker. They are both extremely useful tools, and Geoguessr would not be anywhere near as good as it is now without those. And just on a side note, I think Geoguessr isn't really going to improve the map maker because we have so many good external tools anyway that I don't think it can be topped off with a small map maker update. But anyway, to get started, I recommend just watching /P's video on this, and I'll just quickly go over a couple of tips on how I actually used this. And I've talked a lot about JSON files, but to keep extremely simple and in my own words, it's basically just an advanced text file which programs can read to make certain instructions. But they're not anything too difficult to work with. I'll think I'll leave this in the description or something to use as a base, but all this is a simple script for it to generate locations either in the two big Italian islands of Sardinia or Sicilia. And everything here is quite self-explanatory. You got minimum distance between the locations like we saw in the map generator. You got the location number goal. And for this specific example, at the beginning, I say that we're in Italy, and this is the part where you choose the region. And to choose a specific region of a country, you have to look up specific country codes, like in this case, Sicilia and Sardinia are IT82 and IT88, and we have an exact 50-50 split distribution. You could also provide some filters, like for example here, buildings 10 equals 0. This means buildings within a 10-mile radius is equal to 0. You'll have to learn like all of the operators are listed here. For example, as I just said, EQ equal to. And then what I've also done for 10% of the locations with a minimum distance of 750 meters, I've made it so the road type has to be a motorway, as you can see, equal to a motorway, or the closest coast is less than or equal to 100 meters. And as I said, this will take a little bit of practice and getting used to, but if you learn how to use this well, you can make some incredible maps. Like, I believe every arbitrary map was made by /p using this program. And once you've done doing everything, I believe in the command prompt you have to type, again it will be written in the guide, but I think you'll have to type Vali create file, then the name of the file, and then in the same directory you'll have a new JSON file created with all of the locations. And just like before, all you have to do is import the JSON file, save the map, and then you're done. And that's going to be it for today. I apologize if this was a little bit wonky. I haven't recorded or played the game in well over a week, but hopefully it turned out okay. Thank you to Ground Jordan for being the first channel member, and to everyone else watching as well. See you soon.